I'm Alex, 34, male. I've been an electrician since I was 19. I started as an apprentice, making money, and worked my way up to journeyman, then master electrician. 5 years ago, I started my own business. It's nothing fancy, just me and 2 other guys wiring up houses and doing commercial jobs around town. I make decent money now, enough to be comfortable without being rich. Jessica, 31, female, and I met at my buddy Dave's housewarming party 6 years back. She was his girlfriend's friend from college. I'm not going to lie, the first thing I noticed was her hourglass body. But what actually got me hooked was how she laughed at my dumb jokes. Like, genuinely laughed, not that fake, polite giggle most women do when they're just being nice. We hit it off right away. She was working at this marketing firm downtown, doing something with social media accounts for local businesses. She was smart as hell and always had something interesting to say. Not like those boring dates where you're desperately trying to keep the conversation going. Our first date was at this dive bar that has the best wings in town. She showed up in jeans and a t-shirt. I knew right then I was in trouble. 3 years of dating, 3 years married, we built what I thought was a pretty decent life together. I was busting my ass getting my electrical business going, sometimes working 14-hour days, crawling through attics in the middle of summer, or wiring new constructions in the freezing cold. But it was worth it. We bought a modest 3-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. It was nothing fancy, but it was ours. Well, mostly mine since I put down most of the down payment, but whatever. In the beginning, Jessica seemed to genuinely appreciate what I did. She'd have dinner ready when I got home from a long job and listen to me rant about the general contractor who nearly got himself electrocuted because he couldn't wait for me to kill the power. She'd brag to her friends about how her man could fix anything. She used to wear my old work shirts to bed, saying they smelled like me. She never complained about my calloused hands or the fact that some days I came home so tired I'd fall asleep on the couch before dinner. Weekends were simple but good. We'd work on house projects together. She actually got pretty decent with a paintbrush and could hold her own with basic power tools. We'd have friends over for barbecues, binge-watch shows, try new restaurants, normal couple stuff. We took a vacation once a year, nothing extravagant, usually a beach somewhere within driving distance, but we had fun. But I'm going to be real, there were probably signs that things weren't as perfect as I thought. When you're grinding every day, trying to build something, you don't always see what's right in front of your face. Honestly, I've never been the most observant guy when it comes to emotions. My dad was old school, fix things, provide, protect. Talking about feelings wasn't exactly part of the training manual. Things were good for the first couple of years of marriage. We talked about kids but agreed to wait until my business was more stable, and she got to a better position at her company. We had a decent little savings building up. I was landing bigger contracts, she got a promotion. Everything was on track. Her family liked me well enough. Her dad appreciated that I worked with my hands and built something from nothing. Her mom was always a bit snooty, a typical suburban Karen who thought her daughter could have landed a doctor or lawyer, but I won her over by fixing everything in their house whenever we visited. Nothing builds goodwill with the in-laws like solving the plumbing problem that's been driving them nuts for months. My family loved her. My mom was just happy I found a girl who could put up with me. My dad thought she was a little too into social media and brand names, but he kept that to himself mostly. My younger brother thought she was hot, the little jerk, but respected our relationship. We had a good group of friends too, a mix of my construction buddies and her marketing co-workers. Regular game nights, summer cookouts, a fantasy football league that got way too competitive. It was normal, a good life. If you'd asked me then, I would have said we were solid, not perfect. We had the normal fights about dumb stuff like dishes in the sink or me tracking mud into the house. She'd get annoyed when I'd forget some event with her friends. I'd get irritated when she'd spend too much money on clothes or makeup. But nothing major, no red flags, at least none that I saw. Man, typing all this out, it's like watching the beginning of a horror movie where everything seems fine, but you know the serial killer is about to jump out. Except in my case, the monster was wearing Victoria's Secret and sleeping next to me every night. The first sign something was changing was probably about 8 months ago. That's when Jessica started talking more and more about this new guy at work, Mike. Mike with his MBA from some fancy school. Mike with his amazing ideas for the company. Mike who was going places. I should have paid more attention when my wife couldn't go 5 minutes without mentioning another dude's name, but like I said, I was focused on growing my business, landing contracts, managing my small crew. I didn't realize I should have been focusing on what was happening right under my own roof. But then it became Mike this, Mike that. Mike thinks we should approach the Johnson account differently. Mike went to Cancun last year and said we should go. Mike says my ideas have real potential. Pretty soon I'm hearing about Mike's breakfast choices and workout routine. Like I give a damn that Mike does CrossFit and eats avocado toast. Around this time, Jessica started coming home later from work. It started with team happy hours that were supposedly mandatory for team building. Once a week became twice, then 3 times. She'd roll in at 8 or 9 p.m., slightly buzzed, smelling like a mix of bar and perfume. When I'd ask about her day, she'd get this distant look, like she was mentally somewhere else. She started making these little comments about how her college friends were doing so much with their lives. One just bought a vacation home in Colorado, another got promoted to VP at some tech company, always with this weird undertone like somehow our life wasn't measuring up. Mike says I have real management potential. He thinks I should be aiming higher, she'd say, scrolling through Instagram while I tried to tell her about landing a big contract for a new office building downtown. Like my success meant nothing because I wasn't wearing a suit to work. Then came the appearance changes. She started dressing differently for work, wearing clothes I'd never seen before, more makeup, a new hairstyle, new perfume that probably cost more than my work boots. She started going to get her nails done every week instead of every few months for special occasions. The gym was next. Suddenly, my wife, who used to groan about walking the dog around the block, was hitting the gym at 6 a.m. before work at some fancy new place, downtown with classes, smoothies, and personal trainers. $200 a month compared to the perfectly good $30 a month place 5 minutes from our house. And she was coming home later and later, always showering at the gym after her workout. So she'd arrive home freshly showered, makeup perfect, hair done at 8 or 9 p.m. Because that's totally normal after a sweaty gym session, right? I'm not the jealous type, never been the guy who checks his girl's phone or tracks her location. I always figured trust is either there or it isn't, and if it isn't, the relationship is already done. But I'm also not stupid. I started noticing she was always on her phone but would turn the screen away when I came near. I caught her texting late at night with the brightness turned all the way down. She'd take calls and suddenly need to step outside for better reception in our house that has never had reception problems. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. to use the bathroom, and she wasn't in bed. I found her in the kitchen, furiously texting someone. When she saw me, she nearly dropped her phone and quickly said she couldn't sleep and was checking work emails at 2 a.m. Sure, money changes too. We always had separate accounts for our own spending money, plus a joint account for bills and savings. I started noticing larger than normal withdrawals from the joint account into her personal account. When I asked, she'd say something vague about needing to help her sister or investing in a work thing. Credit card statements showed charges at restaurants on nights she was supposedly at girls' night or working late, expensive clothing stores when she claimed she was just browsing, hotel bar charges in the middle of a workday. The final straw was Valentine's Day. I'm not usually big on that commercial holiday, but I made reservations at this nice steakhouse she'd been wanting to try, ordered flowers to be delivered to her office, and even bought her this silver bracelet she'd been hinting about. I texted her around noon to make sure she'd be home in time for our 7 p.m. reservation. No response. I called at 5, it went straight to voicemail. By 6:30, still nothing. I ended up sitting on the couch in nice clothes, with flowers wilting on the table and a cold bracelet box in my pocket. She finally strolled in at 11 p.m., clearly drunk, saying there was a work crisis and her phone died. She didn't even notice the flowers or my dress clothes, just went straight to bed. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. When I brought it up, she got defensive, saying I was overreacting and making her feel guilty about having to work late. That's when I knew for sure something was up. The Jessica I married would have at least felt bad about missing Valentine's Day, would have apologized, tried to make it up to me. This new Jessica just seemed annoyed that I expected her time and attention at all. I'm a pretty straightforward guy. My first instinct was to just confront her, ask if she was cheating and have it out. But something stopped me, maybe pride, maybe self-preservation. Instead, I decided to pay attention, really pay attention. I started keeping track of patterns. Every Tuesday and Thursday, late meetings. Every other Saturday, girls' brunch that somehow lasted until dinner. She always came home with her hair done but no shopping bags from these supposed shopping trips. I checked our cell phone records online, multiple calls and texts to the same number, always at times when she was working late or at the gym, a number that wasn't saved in our family phone plan contact list. One day, while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. It was locked with a new passcode. Since when did she need to lock her phone from me? We used to know each other's passcodes, not because we were checking on each other, but just for convenience. Then the work events started. Company parties, client dinners, team outings that I was suddenly not invited to. It's just for employees, or it would be boring for you. The Jessica I married used to love showing me off to her coworkers, introducing me as her sexy electrician husband. I'm not the most observant guy with relationship stuff, but even I couldn't ignore what was happening. My wife was pulling away, building a separate life that I wasn't part of. The question was, what was I going to do about it? As I was deciding what to do, the universe decided to hand me a piece of real evidence. I was fixing our leaky bathroom sink when I dropped my wrench, and it knocked over Jessica's makeup bag that was sitting on the counter. While picking up the scattered lipsticks and whatnot, I found a hotel key card tucked in the side pocket, not from any vacation we'd been on. This one was from the Marriott downtown, walking distance from her office. A weird thing to keep as a souvenir unless it had some special meaning, right? I put it back exactly where I found it and finished fixing the sink like nothing happened, but that key card kept eating at me. That night, after she fell asleep, I did a deep dive into our finances. Jessica always handled the bills and budgeting, not because I couldn't do it, but because she was pickier about that stuff, and I was happy to let her deal with it. I logged into our joint accounts and started going through recent statements. I found large withdrawals to her personal account over the last 3 months. $500 here, $700 there. Money that was supposed to be for our future, our savings, our life together. Credit card statements showed shopping charges at stores way above our usual budget, dinner charges on nights she told me she was eating with the girls at, restaurants that were definitely not the casual places her friends usually picked, charges at high-end lingerie stores for stuff I'd never seen her wear. Then I spotted it. A hotel charge from the same Marriott downtown from 3 weeks earlier, just a bar charge, not a room, but still. She hadn't mentioned being at any hotel bar. When I cross-referenced with our text messages from that day, she told me she was working late on a big presentation. My buddy Trent works in IT security. We've been friends since high school. I'm not proud of it, but I called him up and asked if he could help me access Jessica's email. I told him my suspicions. He was hesitant at first, but he'd been through a bad divorce himself after his ex cheated, so he understood where I was coming from. He helped me set up a simple keylogger on our home computer, just a basic program that would capture her passwords the next time she logged in. Shady? Absolutely. Legal? Probably not. But at that point, I didn't care. I needed to know what the hell was going on. 2 days later, I had her email password. There it was, message after message with this Mike guy, weekend plans, complaints about me, how I was stuck in my underdog mindset. While Mike was going places, how she was settling by staying with me, how she deserved more luxury in her life than I could provide. The same Mike who I now knew was her direct supervisor, who had just gotten promoted to regional director at her company. The same Mike who, according to his Facebook profile that I now stalked like a psycho, was married with a 2-year-old and another kid on the way. There were hotel confirmations, screenshots of apartment listings they were looking at together, messages planning their future after she left me. All while she was sleeping next to me every night, eating the dinners I cooked, living in the house my work paid for. One email from Mike read, "Just a few more months, and my bonus comes through. Then we can both leave our dead-end situations and start fresh. Just be patient and keep things normal at home." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. 6 years together, 4 years of marriage, all a lie, or at least it had become one. I sat in my truck for an hour that night, parked outside our house, just thinking. Rage, betrayal, all that washed over me. Part of me wanted to storm in, pack her stuff, and throw it on the lawn. Part of me wanted to find this Mike and introduce his face to the pavement. Part of me wanted to just get drunk and set something on fire, but I didn't do any of that. I'm not that guy. Never been the type to lose control, even when every part of me wanted to. My dad always said, when you're angry is exactly when you need to think clearest. The old man was right about that, at least. Instead, I started making plans. If Jessica and Mike were plotting their exit strategy, I needed to be 2 steps ahead. I wasn't going to be the chump left holding the bag when they decided to pull the trigger on their little escape plan. First, I set up a consultation with a divorce lawyer, a guy I'll call Richard, who my buddy used when his wife cheated. Supposedly a real shark. I forwarded all the emails I'd found, the financial records, everything. He confirmed what I already suspected. I had more than enough for an at-fault divorce on grounds of adultery. But Richard suggested something smarter than just confronting her outright. If you show your hand now, she'll just get defensive and start hiding assets, he said. Better to be strategic about this. He advised me to gather more concrete evidence, photos or video if possible, to document any unusual spending or asset transfers, to secure my own finances before making any moves, and, most importantly, to act normal while doing all of this. The element of surprise is your biggest advantage right now, he told me. Once you confront her, the game changes completely. Game. That's what my marriage had become. A game of chess where I needed to anticipate her moves and counter them before she even made them. The next day at work, I couldn't focus. I almost electrocuted myself because I was distracted thinking about Jessica and Mike planning their new life together while I was busting my ass providing for us. My apprentice, Tommy, actually had to step in and remind me to test the circuit. The kid saved me from a nasty shock. Embarrassing. That night, when Jessica came home late as usual, I forced myself to act normal. I asked about her day, listened to her lies about a stressful client meeting, and even managed to kiss her goodnight without throwing up in my mouth. While she slept, I started making lists on my phone, assets to protect, accounts to separate, people who needed to know what was happening and people who didn't, a timeline for how this would all go down. The next morning, I texted her that I might have to go out of town for a big electrical job, a commercial building in Phoenix that needed a complete rewiring. I said I'd probably be gone for about 2 weeks and asked if she'd be okay holding down the fort alone. Her response was so enthusiastic it was almost comical. "That's great, babe. Such a good opportunity for you. I'll be fine here, don't worry about me." I bet you will be, I thought. I bet you will be. The trap was set. Now I just needed to put the rest of my plan in motion. I made a big show of packing, loading my truck with tools, kissing her goodbye. I even stopped by my parents' place on the way out so they'd think I was really leaving. I told them not to mention anything to Jessica if they talked to her, said I wanted to surprise her with a gift from the money I'd make. Mom thought that was sweet, if she only knew. Once I was clear, I circled back to town and crashed at my buddy Tony's empty rental property, about 15 minutes from my house. He's been through his own divorce nightmare, so he got it. I needed eyes on my house, so one of my friends, Kevin, who installs security systems, hooked me up with some discreet outdoor cameras I could monitor from my phone. We set them up when Jessica was at work, one watching the driveway, another on the front door. Nothing inside the house. I'm not that kind of creep, and honestly, I didn't want to see what might happen in my own bedroom. The first day was quiet. Jessica came home, ordered food, watched Netflix, and sent me some miss you texts that I answered with equally fake enthusiasm. The second day, around 7 p.m., a black Audi pulled up. Out steps Mr. Regional Director himself. Tall, gym body. Expensive watch catching the streetlight, bringing wine. He stayed until 3 a.m. I got it all on video, the arrival, the way they kissed at the door, definitely not their first time. How comfortable he looked walking into my house with an overnight bag like he owned the place. The same thing happened 3 more times that week. Once they left together in the morning, her calling in sick while they spent the day who knows where. They ate dinner on my deck, drank my expensive whiskey I'd been saving, and even took my boat out, the one I busted my ass to buy. While watching this show, I wasn't just sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I called my dad first and showed him everything. He was pissed but focused. "What's the plan, son?" he asked. "Need to protect what I've built," I told him. The next few days were a blur of preparation with Richard, my lawyer. I secured my business since it was already an LLC in my name only, set up new bank accounts, transferred my work equipment to the business name, changed beneficiaries on everything, and stored important documents and irreplaceable stuff off-site. Most importantly, I had papers drawn up giving my dad temporary power of attorney over my business, moved half our savings to my new account, leaving her exactly half, everything above board and documented through my lawyer. By day 10, I had everything I needed: videos, emails, financial records, and a solid legal strategy. Just one more chess move before confrontation. I anonymously sent all the evidence to Mike's pregnant wife. She deserved to know before making life-altering decisions, just like I wished someone had done for me. With that final piece in place, I was ready to head home a day early from my business trip and watch Jessica's face when she saw me. So, I drove home a day early from my Phoenix job, ready for the big confrontation. I had this whole speech prepared in my head and kind of expected to catch Jessica and Mike in the act, maybe get some more video evidence, but life's full of surprises, isn't it? I pulled into the driveway and noticed something off right away. Her car wasn't there. Weird, since my security cam showed it parked there just 3 hours earlier. I figured maybe she went grocery shopping or something. I walked in, and the house felt empty. You know that feeling when a place that should feel like home suddenly doesn't? The air was different, quieter. I called out her name, nothing. I checked the kitchen, the living room, then headed to our bedroom, and that's when it hit me. Her side of the closet was completely cleared out. Dresser drawers were empty, the bathroom counter missing all her expensive creams and makeup. On the bed was a note, folded neatly on my pillow, like this was some romantic movie. It read, "Alex, I can't do this anymore. I've moved on with someone who matches my ambitions and can give me the life I deserve. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce. Don't try to find me. Jessica." Cold, right? 6 years together, 4 years of marriage, and that's it. 8 lines on a piece of paper, not even a full page. I sat on the edge of the bed, note in hand, feeling nothing. No rage, no heartbreak, just this weird emptiness, like I was looking at the aftermath of something that had been dead for months, but I just hadn't admitted it yet. I headed to the living room, opened my laptop, and pulled up the security footage from earlier that day. There it was, Jessica and Mike loading suitcases and boxes into his Audi around noon. She was laughing as he struggled with a heavy bag, both of them looking excited, like kids sneaking out past curfew. I spent the next few hours making lists, bank accounts, credit cards, passwords, utilities, all the practical stuff that needs handling when your wife decides to vanish. I changed the locks, changed every password she might know, and called Richard, my divorce lawyer buddy, to get the ball rolling. While checking our accounts, I noticed something interesting. She'd cleared out her personal checking account but hadn't touched our joint savings. Either she forgot in her rush to start her fancy new life, or she was planning to come back for it once things settled. Then it hit me, the safe in my home office. I opened it, and yep, all her important documents were still there. Birth certificate, passport, social security card, everything you need to function as an adult in this country. She'd been in such a hurry to bail that she'd completely forgotten the basics. Stupid. I picked up my phone to text her about it, but stopped. Richard's advice came back to me. Don't engage until we have everything in order. Let her make the first mistakes. Instead, I called my dad and explained the situation. He came over quickly. We sat on the deck, talking, while I transferred half our savings to a new account in my name only, leaving her half in the joint account. I'm not a thief, but I'm not a sucker either. Dad stayed over that night. A good thing, too, because around 3 a.m., my phone started blowing up. Text after text from Jessica. Just realized I left some important things. Can we arrange a time for me to pick them up? Alex, please respond. This is childish. They're my documents. I need my passport for a new job opportunity. I shut off my phone and went back to sleep. Let her sit with her poor planning for a while. The next day was weirdly normal. I went to work, wired a new construction site, and made small talk with my crew. Nobody knew my life had just imploded, and I didn't feel like sharing. I checked my phone at lunch, 27 missed calls, voicemails ranging from sugary sweet to threatening legal action. Mike had even called twice, trying to sound all authoritative about personal property law. I just texted Jessica once, all communication through lawyers from now on. Then I blocked both their numbers and finished my sandwich. 48 hours after Jessica's great escape, I was in the garage reorganizing my tools. What can I say, it's therapeutic. When I heard someone pounding on the front door, I checked my new security app, and there she was, looking considerably less put together than when she left. I laughed my ass off and took my sweet time answering. I found her on the porch, mascara smeared, hair a mess, wearing what looked like yesterday's clothes. "You changed the locks," were the first words out of her mouth, all indignant, like I'd done something wrong. Yep, I didn't invite her in, just stood in the doorway. "I need my things, Alex, my documents. I can't do anything without them. Should have thought about that before you cleared out while I was working." Her face did this thing where she was trying to look sad, but also trying to look attractive while looking sad. It's a weird expression that used to work on me. Not anymore. "Can I please come in and get my passport at least? I have a job interview tomorrow." Nope. All items will be exchanged through lawyers. I've already contacted mine. That's when she switched tactics and started crying, shoulders shaking, the works. "Please, I made a mistake. Mike isn't... Things aren't what I thought. I just need my documents. Not my problem." "You can't legally keep my identification documents," she said, her voice rising to that shrill tone. "Actually, I can secure them until proper legal exchange is arranged. They're safe. They'll be returned through appropriate channels." She tried to push past me into the house. I just stepped to the side, blocking the door with my arm. "Jessica, you made your choice. You left. This isn't your home anymore. It's my house, too. My name is on the mortgage. Might want to check that again. The mortgage is in my name only. The house was purchased with my pre-marriage savings as the down payment, and since you abandoned the residence without notice, you've complicated your claim considerably. Thank you, Richard, for that legal script." I felt she didn't quite get what I said, but she felt it because her face showed the exact moment she realized I wasn't the pushover she thought. "Where am I supposed to go? Mike's place is... complicated. Trouble in paradise already?" That was fast. She glared at me. His wife found out somehow, showed up at his apartment screaming, had all these emails and videos. "Did you have something to do with that?" I just shrugged. "Sounds like karma to me. I have nowhere to go, Alex. Let me stay here until I figure things out." "No. Just for a few days. I'll sleep on the couch." "No. You're being cruel. Full waterworks now. After everything we've been through. Cruel would be leaving someone with a note after 4 years of marriage. Cruel would be screwing your boss in our bed while I was working my ass off providing for us. Cruel would be planning to clean out our accounts once his bonus came through." Her eyes went wide. How did you— I know everything, Jessica. Every email, every plan, every complaint about my lack of ambition, while you were falling for his leased car and maxed out credit cards. She crumpled onto the porch steps, sobbing for real this time. Not for me, for her perfect exit strategy falling apart. I almost felt bad. Almost. I'll have Richard contact your lawyer about document exchange. You should go now. I closed the door and watched through the security cam as she sat there crying for another 20 minutes before finally calling her sister to pick her up. Later that night, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You had no right to ruin everything. Mike. I forwarded it to Richard with one comment, more evidence for the file. I spent the next couple of weeks focusing on work and getting my life together. I had a massive rewiring job for a restaurant downtown that kept me busy. Plus, Richard was putting together our divorce strategy. And yeah, it's been 3 weeks since she showed up crying on the porch. The document exchange finally happened. Supervised by both our lawyers at Richard's office. Jessica showed up looking rough, dark circles under her eyes, wearing clothes I recognized from 2 seasons ago. Guess the fancy shopping sprees were over. She tried to corner me before the meeting. We need to talk privately, Alex. Nothing to say that can't be said in front of the lawyers. Richard was a beast, had everything organized, documented, ready for signature. Jessica's lawyer looked annoyed the whole time, probably because she kept interrupting him to make emotional appeals directly to me. I made a horrible mistake, she said at one point, reaching for my hand across the table. We could work through this. I moved my hand away. We're here to exchange documents, not reconcile. Her lawyer finally had to tell her to stop because she was making things worse. That seemed to wake her up to the reality of the situation. As we were wrapping up, I found out through Richard that Mike's situation had imploded spectacularly. His pregnant wife, Emma, had filed for divorce with evidence of multiple affairs, not just with Jessica. The company fired both Mike and Jessica for violating policy about manager-employee relationships. He was facing possible legal action from the company for using business trips to conduct his affairs. Jessica had been staying with her sister but wore out her welcome after a week of crying and drama. I also heard that she tried moving in with Mike, but that lasted all of 3 days before reality set in. 2 unemployed people with mounting legal bills in his expensive apartment that, turns out, he could barely afford when he was employed. Meanwhile, my life's been improving. The business is doing better than ever. I landed 2 major commercial contracts that will keep us busy all year. I bought a new truck, not to show off but because I actually needed one for work. The divorce is moving quickly since Jessica left voluntarily, leaving a written note about moving on with someone else, and there's solid evidence of her affair. It's pretty straightforward. Richard thinks we'll be done in record time. Jessica still tries reaching out occasionally, texts from new numbers about how she misses what we had and made the biggest mistake of her life. I don't respond. There's nothing left to say. Last I heard, she moved back in with her parents in Ohio. I'm pretty sure Mike's sleeping on his brother's couch and working DoorDash to make child support payments. Their grand romance lasted less than a month in the real world. Some of my friends ask if I regret how I handled everything, if I was too harsh or calculated. I tell them the same thing. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. And when they're planning to screw you over, there's no shame in protecting what you've built. My old man told me something that stuck. In electrical work, you always plan for the worst-case scenario because it only takes one mistake to kill you. Turns out, that applies to marriages too. Life's not perfect now, but it's real, and it's mine. I met this woman at a job site the other day. We've been grabbing coffee after work a couple of times a week, and I'm already developing feelings for her. Nothing serious yet, but there's something about a woman who can thread a pipe and talk circuit breakers that just works for me. She laughs at my dumb jokes. I thought Jessica was the only woman on earth who did that, and she doesn't look at her phone every 5 seconds when we're together. It's crazy how you don't realize what you're missing until you actually have it.